Open broadcasting software, commonly referred to as OBS, is something that's been around for quite some time and normally is used by video gamers and content creators to stream to YouTube, Twitch, or sometimes Facebook Live. But more recently it's been used by academics to record their lectures and deliver them either streaming or recording. And this video tutorial is going to guide you through the process of downloading and installing and also creating a basic overlay that's going to allow you to start to record your lectures. OBS Studio, or OBS, is a free-to-use software and won't cost you a thing to use. And you need to go to obsproject.com and either download the Windows or the Mac OS that's appropriate to you. Once you have OBS installed, you'll be met with this screen, which although looks quite complex at the moment, is actually really simple to understand. And the first thing to do is head to the settings, which is located at the bottom right here. Once you're in the settings, what you want to start out with is the Output tab. And this is going to be deciding where you're actually going to store your recordings when you get to that point. And you can do that by clicking the Browse button here, and I've created my own recordings section here within a folder. It's a good idea to do this because if you're using two hard drives, you probably want a slightly bigger hard drive to store your recordings and not clutter up one of your other hard drives. The other thing that you want to do is change the recording format here to an MP4. One of the problems when you go on to use some of the video editing software is that sometimes other formats aren't recognized, and MP4 is the common format among those. The other settings at the moment you really don't have to struggle with too much. So when we're looking at the overlay, it looks quite complicated, but actually it's really simple. OBS is made up of scenes, located down here, and sources. Scenes essentially enable you to organize various overlays or sources that you would like to display in your recordings. And in the middle you have an audio mixer that when you start to record, you can set to display your microphone so that it's recorded, and you can also mute your desktop sounds as well. And then finally you have scene transitions, which we'll demonstrate a little bit later. Your controls on the side here, you can start your recording from here, or you can enter the settings. And for those of you that want to stream, you can also start to stream here to YouTube or Facebook Live. Setting up scenes is actually really easy, but I advise you name them in an appropriate manner so that you can actually understand what they mean during recording. I like to split them between displaying a webcam and not displaying a webcam. And the reason for that is sometimes when you're presenting, it's easier not to have a webcam displaying. As now I've just displayed mine, you can see that I'm actually obscuring one of the menus down at the bottom right of your screen. So I've just turned my webcam off and we're going to go ahead and create a scene. So you can either do it with the plus button or you can do with a right click and add. For simplicity, we're going to do the plus button. And we're going to call this display 1 with webcam. So this is where we're going to set up a display, but we're going to display our webcam as well. And then your sources are anything that's going to go on here. And eventually this is going to display my number screen 2, which is just to the left of me. So again on here, the sources, we can either click add or we can click the plus. And you can see we've met with loads of options that could be slightly confusing, but in actual fact is really, really easy. And what we're concerned with is display capture, which is going to capture one of the displays, either number 1 or 2 or your main display if that's what you're doing. So let's go ahead and do display capture. And here you can create a new display capture or add an existing. So I'm just going to call this display 1. And then I'm going to click OK. And this looks a little bit crazy because it's actually capturing this screen, but I'm going to set it by double clicking. We get this option to display number 2, which is the second screen at the moment that I'm going to use for presenting. Next, what we need to do is we need to add our webcam. And for this, we go to video capture device. And it's more intuitive probably to call it webcam. I'm going to click OK. And we're going to get a few options here. You might get a few options here because sometimes it might want to display the webcam on the laptop, and you can obviously see the green screen behind me. But that's the webcam that we want to display, which is my main one. And obviously at the moment you can see that my green screen isn't working. Once this is displayed, you can actually adjust the size of the webcam by dragging on the little dots. So I like my webcam at the bottom right. Some people like it at the top left, but wherever you want to choose to put it is acceptable. And the way that this works is that it's a layering effect. So the bottom layer is this one, will always be the display. And then I want to build my layers up on top of it. So I'm going to lock that one. And we can choose to display things or undisplay things by pressing these little eyes. So if I want to turn my webcam off, I can do that and it'll go. Or I can turn it back on. I can turn the display off, or I can turn it back on. This, in terms of a recording lectures, would be absolutely fine. But we want to make it look a little bit more flashy maybe. So we're going to import some images as well. So again, clicking on the plus, we can go and import an image. And I'm going to call this webcam frame. And eventually when you start to populate these, you'll get it under the add existing as well. So it gets a little bit more simple. And then browse to where the image file is. Mine's on my desktop. And there's two types in here as well. There's a square one or a wide one, depending on what webcam you've got. So I'm going to choose the wide one and then put that in. And then what we can do to make it look a little bit more flashy is we can resize that and just overlay it over the webcam. Now you can see that things aren't quite aligned here. The webcam is slightly spilling over the frame. So what we can do is just make that a little bit smaller. Overlay that. And then to make those fine adjustments that you're going to need to line everything up, you can actually just use your keyboard to slot everything in. And what you can see there, I'll bring that out a little bit. Webcam spilling over slightly, we'll bring that out. It just tidies up the edges a little bit and puts you in frame a little bit more, but also it gives your students an area to look to as well and looks a little bit more professional. And then we can start to brand it up a little bit. So once I'm happy with those two, I can lock those and we're going to bring in some other things. So again, the plus image, I'm going to call this the University of Hull logo. And you can see there that those images that you add already come in. So I could add multiple frames to this as well if I was doing a lecture where I wanted multiple camera angles. Okay, we'll browse again. And I'm going to put in the university logo, the white one. Click OK. And we can resize that. I like the logo at the top there. And then finally, we can lock that and you can see how we're building up that layer here. We can add it and let's brand ourselves a little bit by adding in a Twitter logo. Browse again, Twitter logo. You can put these wherever you want. I like sometimes a logo there. And then last thing, we want our handle. So we can even add text as well. We can lock that. And if we go to the text here, we can add my handle. And mine is probably a little bit big. Let's take it down a little bit. 24 is probably about right. And we can bring that over. We've locked the Twitter logo, so let's just unlock that, square everything up a little bit. We can lock everything. And there we've got a really simple but effective way to stream content, but also to start recording as well. So here, if we open up a PowerPoint that we've done previously and move it over onto here, and let's start presenting, what you can see is that it'll be presenting on the other screen, but I'll also get the presenter view here. And what people will actually see is a little webcam at the bottom there. But sometimes when you're presenting in PowerPoint, the annoying thing is that if you have a table, for example on this slide here, it's going to obscure it slightly, which is why I like to have another display capture where I can quickly remove the webcam if needed. So let's go ahead and make one real quick. So again, plus we're going to make a new scene here. We'll call this display 1. No webcam. And we're going to follow the exact same again. We're going to start off with our display capture. And you can see because we've already done them, they're already there. So we go display 1, lock it. Let's have some branding again of the whole logo. Put that at the top there. And I'm not going to bother with my Twitter things for here. So there what I've got is a really effective, quick overlay where I can go to having a webcam by clicking and by not clicking. And what I do when I'm actually giving a lecture, I can have this open while speaking, and then if I want to quickly get rid of my webcam, I can just click it, and the recording will have that animation as well. You can also actually change the duration of your animations here. So if you want it to be a little bit smoother, I find 500 is about right, and that gives you that nice effect there. And all you need to do to start recording, hit record, start recording, and you'll start recording. Another scene that I like to have is for when I do the introductions. So I maybe call that one introduction. And I still like to start my videos with a full view of the webcam. And that's simply video capture device, add existing webcam. And then I can drag that, make it bigger. And I can do that for my videos for the introduction. And when I'm ready, I can then go down into presenting mode in the PowerPoint, and I can then go down to no webcam if required, or if I've got some theory to explain. And that's OBS. Really simple, really effective, and looks a lot more complicated than it is. Now it may look like I've actually forgot to edit this bit out, but I wanted to show you how it actually looks when you record a video. Now that I've finished that section of the video, I need to move back into OBS and change the scene to finish the video. You can see here that I've got screen 1 selected, which is just displaying my whole display, and there's no webcam. But to finish off the video, I like to have a full screen display. As I select this, you see that the fade animation will display, and the recording will go to display my full webcam so that I'm able to finish off the video. During streaming, this would actually be displayed on YouTube, Twitch, or Facebook Live. However, because I'm recording, I'd normally edit out these transitions and these moments where I'm configuring OBS. And that's a really quick tutorial on how to use OBS for recording. Really quick, really simple, and actually looks a lot more complicated than it is.